What it is an airplane that shows what future air travel may look like. Yes, it's almost as wide as a football field is long with just one seat. But just as the Wright brothers couldn't carry passengers, Solar Impulse represents the first steps in solar-powered flight. And to prove its potential, they began flying it around the world, from Abu Dhabi last year, with stops in India and China, then across the vast Pacific. Remember, it has no fuel. It then was on to the United States, hopscotched across America, powered only by the sun, and now it has crossed its last ocean, the Atlantic. Not much further to go.
The simplest irrefutable flat Earth proof. So you start your journey at the Arctic, as far to the north as you can, and you begin to go south. Now notice as I'm going south, I have to continue dipping the nose of my airplane in order to stay level with the ground. Now I'm going to continue all the way to Antarctica. Now notice, I'm continuing to dip my nose down to stay level with the Earth. And now I'm going down into South America. Continuing to dip down, and finally, I get down here to Antarctica. And look at that. My airplane is upside down. Well, you're gonna say, well, we know that. People that are in the southern hemisphere are still standing right side up. Everybody stands right side up on the Earth, we know that. But yet you just flew down here. You're upside down. You cannot refute that. Your airplane is upside down and your head is facing down. It has to be true, because you have had to adjust your nose by a full 180 degrees. So that now you are absolutely upside down. You can't deny that proof.
So you're new to defending the globe and need some pointers. Well, rule number 1, never concede to anything. If a flat earther says all world leading organizations have a flat earth map as their logo, say, no, they use this logo so they could put every single continent visible. And then if they say, well, where's Antarctica? Change the subject. Always remember, this Earth is spinning, and we can detect the spin with the Coriolis effect. Now, if they go out and try to test the Coriolis and can't find any deviation, we invoke relative motion. Remember, we always appeal to authority, and we'll say that snipers use the curve of the Earth and Coriolis in their calculations for their long-distance shots, and most people are lazy, so they won't open the sniper manual to read anyway, so we're good there. Curvature can be a tough one sometimes, so we can use pictures like this to show curvature of the Earth. Most people, again, are kind of dumb and lazy. They won't actually look into this. And as long as your flat earther doesn't have pictures like this of the same bridge, or this from the above ground view, or pictures like this from an even lower perspective, then most people will believe that this is curvature. Most people don't think about how small the Earth would have to be for that to be curvature, but hopefully they're appealing to authority like we do. Refraction is your best friend. It's like a one-size-fits-all. We tell people that this isn't actually Chicago, it's just a mirage, because Chicago should be on the other side of the horizon. But because of refraction, we can take any long-distance observation and turn it into curvature, and just say that it's a mirage. That's why it looks flat. Also, Walter Bislin's Earth Curve Calculator. If they ever bring up the radius value of the Earth, just bring up Walter Bislin's. It's got a refraction slider. With your refraction slider, you can make insane long-distance observations and slide your refraction meter and bring things from Antarctica visible from the United States if you wanted. Another good one-size-fits-all is gravity. If people say, well, I can't feel the Earth spinning, just say gravity. And if they say, shouldn't a plane have to dip their nose down to follow the curvature of the Earth? Say, no, gravity. And then, if they say, well, doesn't the globe model violate the second law of thermodynamics? How can a pressurized atmosphere exist next to a vacuum? Well, gravity. Also, make sure you're always ad-homing them, making fun of them, and changing the subject. Like if something comes up about, I don't know, Terry White, you know, he's the lead animator for NASA, and his artwork just so happens to be realism. That's a bad look. Change the subject, show a picture like this, cross your fingers, and hope they don't look at other pictures. Also, our default position is everything from NASA is real photographs, okay? Now, if they find out that this is an animation, well, just always stand firm on that it's real. If turns out they find some evidence that it was an animation, wow, good for them. It's time to change the subject again. If they do find out too much about the CGI Earths that we've been given, always bring this up. This is the 1972 Blue Marble. It's on real film, right? So if they start to bring up practical effects and say, well, couldn't they have just painted, a sphere, put it in a dark room, shined a light on it, and took a photograph with a real camera? You just say, well, they didn't have the technology to do that back then. Another good one is this heliocentric model is the only model that can make celestial predictions. And if flat earthers bring up the geocentric astronomical calculator called the Antikythera mechanism, it's time to change the subject again. Our position is we went to the moon. Just don't get discouraged, guys. I know it's a losing battle and it's really hard to defend this nowadays, but just stick it out. We can do this. The Bible says astrology is from a false god. But wait, God said, let there be lights in the heavens to serve as signs, mark sacred times and days and years. Is this a contradiction? No. There are those who correlate the 12 disciples with the 12 zodiac signs, and there are plenty of astrological correlations with biblical text and astrology. So why would the knowledge of astrology be demonic or from a false god? The answer can be found with the story of Lucifer. He was one of God's favorites. He was an archangel, but he wanted to exalt himself above the Creator. This was all pride, being his own God and the God of others. So God did, in fact, put these luminaries, the sun, moon, and stars, for signs, for us to glorify him in the signs that he sends for us. So we are supposed to trust God and glorify him and watch for the signs that he tells his children are coming. Now here's where it gets demonic. This guy and his crew of fallen angels have come down, used astrology as a sacred knowledge. So now these sneaky fallen angels have presented this sacred knowledge to mankind to be used as self-glorification. So now if I have all this knowledge, I can act as a fortune teller, manipulate people, know their personality sets, know who's impressionable, who's not, who's easily gullible, take money out of their pockets because now I'm serving as my own God who has this sacred knowledge, and now I can take advantage of people. You see, astrology becomes demonic whenever you start using it for self-glorification rather than glorification of the Creator who put these things there for us and a relationship with him, knowing his seasons and ages as they come and go. An ex-SpaceX employee starts wiling out and saying space is fake. Someone asked him what the market was for used SpaceX rockets, and he goes, they're all junk. They're comprised of computer-generated images, stage effects. Nothing has ever gone beyond the firmament of Earth. In other words, space is fake and it's all computer-generated. SpaceX is a huge hoax along with NASA. It goes on and on. Just pause and read. Here's the guy's profile. Now, I don't know if it's real or not, but it is funny. And it makes me wonder, how many SpaceX or NASA employees are going to come forward as this discussion grows. We've already got NFL players, we've got UFC fighters, and a lot of acclaimed people, popular people, coming forward and saying, the Earth's flat. So I'm wondering, it's just a matter of time before people who were employed by these agencies start figuring things out for themselves, and maybe they start coming forward. Hopefully they have a good insurance policy.
Sundogs are undeniable evidence that we live under God's dome, and I am going to prove it. Now, first of all, you need to understand how the sun moves on the flat earth model. This is the Gleason's map, the real map of the world. A map that is both scientifically and practically correct. Now, this is how the sun rotates around our flat, stationary, non-rotating Earth. And in the bottom right corner of the map, you'll see the June solstice while the sun is rotating more towards the North Pole. This is when we experience summer, and this is exactly what that would look like. Now, during the winter months, the sun rotates more south, and this is exactly what that looks like. Now, you guys can actually validate this yourself. In the summertime, go see where the sun sets. And in the wintertime, go look where it sets. It will set much further south. This is the definition of science, something that is observable, measurable, and repeatable. Now, sundogs only happen in the winter. Now, let's pretend that the flame is the sun, and this is the dome or the firmament that's been mentioned hundreds of times in the Bible, the Quran, our ancient ancestors mentioned it in religious texts, and so on and so forth. And we're going to show you when the sun moves towards the south, it creates the sundog. As the flame is moved closer to the dome, there's the sundogs. Does that look familiar to you guys? Quite literally, all of our ancestors try to tell us that we live under God's firmament, and you mindless zombies literally believe what NASA puts out. Research the flat earth and the firmament. You have been lied to your whole entire life. Peace and love.
Said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And there was evening, and there was morning, a second day."
I want to show you 15 NASA documents that prove the Earth is a flat, non-rotating plane. All right, so let's take a look at some of these. NASA has been providing paperwork that just proves right out in the open that we don't live on a spinning ball. I mean, for me, I don't really need to see these papers because it's fairly obvious we're not spinning on a magical water ball. You can't stick water to a ball. I don't know how many times I need to say it. We're obviously not spinning. For those of you who don't know how fast we're spinning, it's 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, 66,600 miles an hour around the sun, and the sun is allegedly going through the galaxy. 500,000 miles an hour is so cool. It's stupid, actually, and ridiculous, and pretty darn obvious that none of that is happening. So let's take a look. What does NASA have for us? They have all of these documents, all of these papers that show us and tell us that we're not spinning on a magical ball. When you go to school to become a pilot, whether it's for NASA or just become a pilot in general, this type of paperwork is what they use. So you learn how to fly based on a non-rotating flat Earth. Why would they teach pilots how to fly based on a non-rotating flat Earth? That's interesting, right? You'd think if we were actually spinning on a ball, they'd have to train pilots how to fly on a spinning ball and not on a flat Earth. So that's weird, right? You know, there's a reason why they call it an airplane, because you're flying over a flat plane. You fly level. You get up to altitude, you fly level, and then you land. At no point are you turning around a magical ball. And please, stop with the gravity. Gravity is not gonna point your nose down to go around a ball. You know, there are direct flights from America to China. So at some point or another, they're gonna have to turn around a ball. No? I mean, come on, we gotta think about this. There is no turning to go around a ball. Have you ever been on an airplane? I've been on one at least 50 times in my life. And you go up, you get level, you fly, and then you go down and land. It's really simple, actually. So any pilot that tells you we're spinning on a ball is either not a pilot, or I really pray for their common sense, because they don't have any. I love when people use NASA as an example. Oh, well, NASA said this. Oh, well, NASA measurements say this. Oh, yeah, NASA. Oh, cool. NASA lied about a moon landing. Okay, they lied about a moon landing. It should have been done there. The public should have lost their trust in NASA just from that alone. How many times do you have to be lied to before you do not trust someone or something anymore? I'm just curious. Please enlighten me. So if someone continues to lie to you over and over and over and over and over again, how long does it take before you don't trust them? I'm just curious. I mean, for me, I give people the benefit of the doubt. But, you know, after like a couple lies, you kind of just get to the point where you don't trust the person anymore. So I'm wondering, at what point do we not trust NASA anymore? They lie about everything. It's time to wake up. I love you all, and this is for your entertainment.
The Cook County Herald, an old newspaper from April 21st, 1900, says Earth is round and may be thrown into prison for it. That same newspaper uses the globe as this villain. Here's a newspaper from 1925 talking about conflicts with science, geocentrism versus heliocentrism, the firmament, ice wall, waters above, biblical cosmology. But you need to read this article from 1900s where they weren't accepting spherical Earth in certain places.
We've known the Earth has been a globe for centuries.
Are your gears turning? If they're arguing about this from 1900 to 1925, if 102-year-old women in nursing homes can be asked, what did you learn in school? And they said, well, they taught us that some people believe the Earth is round, some people believe it's flat, and we got to choose. Doesn't it sound like they're covering up some history? Thanks again to my homegirl, Steph, for sending me this awesome information. I went in, found the articles myself, and checked the sources. It's 100% true.
They tell us right to our face that there are no satellites in space. All so-called satellite communication is based on undersea cables, towers, and computer network.
GH, why are you telling me this? Did your neighbor say something to you?
No, he wasn't home. But he has a satellite phone I thought could help us. I tried to use it, but it didn't work even though it had enough juice. Now the whole point of a satellite phone is that you always have a signal if you have a clear view of the sky, which I did. The only reason why it wouldn't work is if our satellites got knocked out of commission.
Our satellites. You think something happened to our satellites? The ones in space?
The satellites are networked to computers down here.
The satellites are networked to computers down here. The satellites are networked to computers down here.
The flat Earth map dates back over 1,000 years. This map is credited to being created by a Persian astronomer. His name was Al-Biruni, and he lived between 973 AD to 1048 AD. It's the official map of the United Nations and also the United States Geological Survey. It used to be present in many places before the creation of NASA and the Antarctic Treaty in 1959. Here you see it with Admiral Byrd. This map has been restored by Dmitry from Russia with suggestions of mine, Idialenkar. Known by my YouTube channel Flat Earth Banjo, I asked Dmitry to include the Bermuda Triangle and Point Nemo, a place deep in the Pacific where NASA buries rockets. Then Robert Tozzi, a professional mapmaker, came along and enhanced the map even more. There are many people now selling this map online, but if you could order it from my online store, I would greatly appreciate it. Visit my online store now and order one of the items. I humbly thank you.